In this episode, we feature Tony Velasco of Afterburn Fitness. Welcome to the Content Supply Podcast. I'm Dallin Need, and each episode we bring you an inspiring brand, creator, or message to help you discover how you can experience success in your business as we unpack stories and strategies about all things content and growing a successful brand. So this is just a whole discovery process for all of us. We feature a variety of different brands on the show, from entrepreneurs, entertainers, copywriters, marketers, coaches, athletes, to designers, filmmakers, photographers, and many more. All brand owners, all creators. So it's my belief, as with many others, that every company is a content company and has to be one to stay relevant and competitive. Because let's be honest, the internet is so full of brands that it can be very easy to get lost in the crowd. So quality and effective content really separates you. That's why Content Supply was created, to supply brands with ongoing custom content so they can engage with their customers by providing value, telling stories, and making more sales. And when we say content, I'm talking about video and audio and written or image, all and everything in between, all those. Content creation and building a business is really hard. You never finish the building and creating. Even after you experience some success, you have to keep going on the journey. Content Supply was created to be a resource, a community, and a solution to fill that large gap of content. So thanks for joining the show. And now let's get to the interview. I'm very excited to have Tony Velasco with me today. Tony is the founder of Afterburn Fitness. Afterburn Fitness is a high-intensity training facility combining everything from Olympic lifts to classes to kickboxing to yoga, nutritional guidance, and really everything else rolled into one. But Afterburn Fitness is more than a gym. It's a community of people, trainers, and members alike, all with the belief that there's a foundation of fitness and health that can be built to improve our lives. The afterburn effect and the concept of muscle confusion creates a level of success for their members that is not seen at really any other gym. The energy of Afterburn Fitness is really contagious. The level of teamwork and community building is pretty incredible. And the local members of the community and the online members of the community are pretty engaged. There's a lot of charitable events. There's a lot of different training exercises and a lot of transformation. So without further ado, Tony, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, of course, man. Definitely.
So tell me a little bit more about the story behind Afterburn Fitness. Why did you create it?
I'll try to give you the sped up quick version. Long story short, I mean, originally I played sports in high school and had always, enjoyed working out and all of that stuff. But, it's not like I woke up as a kid and automatically dreamed of being a personal trainer and owning a gym and all that stuff. It kind of honestly just kind of fell into my lap in terms of the training thing. But once it did, and I kind of started to go that route, I did kind of fall in love with that. And really, as I started to get more into the training aspect, I fell in love with the business side of it and really just business in general. And so once I realized it could be something that I could grow and really kind of take off with, that then became my main goal was all right, I'm training. I'm right now I'm packed in 60, 70 hours a week, whatever. Like, what's the next, what else can I do? Right. Because the whole idea of being stagnant drives me insane. And so it was really one of those things where I had as many clients as I could fit. I couldn't work any more hours. And the only logical step to go from there was, all right, well, I've got to, I saved up a bunch of money and I'm going to risk it all and put it all on the table here and build Afterburn Fitness. And I wanted to create something that, was kind of starkly in contrast to what was kind of the norm in terms of like how gyms were run. And really just wanted to kind of build everything from like the most foundational piece being that community type thing, right? The one that, you probably know from wrestling and anyone who plays sports, like, that community of brothers that you have or sisters or whatever, in whatever sport you're playing, like being able to kind of be a part of something like that again, but also apply like proper business practices to it. And it evolved a lot. I mean, when we first opened compared to what it is now, I mean, it's a starkly different ball game than when it was back then. But that foundation piece, that community oriented, that feeling still remains and is definitely the main link.
For sure. So with the community focus, how'd you go about building it? Like, obviously you already had as kind of a client base as it was.
Correct.
How did you tap into more of that community, that audience?
And I don't know if this is exactly answering your question or not. I am a wholehearted believer in every sense of the word that like culture is like massive. And I'm talking like whether it's, a gym or within a company and the employees. And so just creating a culture of kind of like this, the like-mindedness that you feel like when you walk in, and like a feeling and a sense of like in a business, like I think everybody wants to feel like they're a part of something, right? Like, whatever that main objective is for that company, that no matter where your role is in the company, that you still play some part and have some impact in hitting that objective. And so we obviously do that from a business standpoint with our staff, but creating that same concept with the membership base, that like everyone is kind of a part of the community and building that community and helping everybody else. And so when someone achieves X, right, you were a little bit a part of that. And so that's kind of the main focus, I guess.
I like that a lot. Yeah, because that's one thing that I mentioned before we started recording, that I am a current member of Gold's Gym out of convenience.
Right.
Like, right next to my office. I mean, it's fine. You have obviously the typical functions of any gym. You've got the weights, you've got the cardio. I mean, you've got the room to exercise in, but I think each gym is kind of custom to the athlete or how you want to work out. And I mentioned to you earlier too that I grew up wrestling, and so that kind of workout routine is familiar to me, and I feel like there's more results with that for sure. And I think a CrossFit gym is definitely intriguing, and it's like community aspect too, because when you're in a Gold's Gym, I mean, you're exercising. It's very much of like a solo experience, right, unless you get a trainer. When you get the community or the team, that sounds like that was kind of your competitive edge.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I think people are looking for, don't get me wrong, the Planet Fitness, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for as much as it's the exact opposite of what we do, it's a genius business model and it works. But for what we do and what we're trying to accomplish, that sense of, you know what I mean, like being a part of something is so integral to, like, anything and everything that we do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like more of a personal experience too, where you get to know people on a different level. Like I've seen on your website, you guys have different events that go far beyond just your facility there.
Yeah.
You go to stadiums, you do other kind of community events.
And I think it's kind of like it was a missing piece of that industry, that, working out being more of like a true experience, social experience, everything else, like no different than someone who's a member to, a country club, right? So you're a member to TPC or whatever. There's a sense of like a cool sense of belonging, right? Like, I'm a part of this. And obviously our demographic's not the right word, but what someone is a part of is a little bit different than what someone at a country club is a part of. This is, the people in here are kind of more of like a work hard, play hard community type of a thing. But it works because it's still that same concept. It's that underlying concept.
So then with, say, other brands who are trying to do what you do, is building community or tap into kind of that custom experience that's more personable, what recommendations, like with your experience with building Afterburn Fitness, I'm sure you have a lot of insight to those who may be wanting to do similar things to what you do. What are some insights you think?
Well, since you specifically mentioned CrossFit a couple of times, I think that they can say that it's geared towards everybody, right? And I'm not saying it's not. The problem is a lot of the perception with the games and all that kind of stuff, like it's only for the elite athlete. I think a lot of the time it comes down, at least from CrossFit standpoint, like it's really hard to market that to the everyday person. Like it just really, really is. It'll market to you, you know what I mean? As a former athlete, it would market to me as a former athlete. But I mean, that's 5-10% of the population. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of those places that focus on that, those community-oriented gyms, the biggest problem is that they're not marketing enough to the general population. And there's a lot of other things, but I think that's the biggest one, is that we tried, that, you come in here and, even when you walk in the facility, I mean, it can look intimidating to a lot of people that come in. You got these massive rigs and turf and tires and all, what's going on here. But at the end of the day, our marketing approach and our delivery, once people walk in, is one that still markets to and appeals to the general population. And so that would be my advice, I guess.
And that's cool too, because not only do you consider like the athlete or the fitness professional, you consider the people who also want to experience that team atmosphere. Yeah, exactly. That haven't before, who were like, actually, like I kind of missed that growing up in athletics. So let's try it out with this gym experience, of any age too. I mean, you look at your website and social media. I mean, you guys have on Facebook, I think is your biggest following, almost 15,000 people, it looks like.
Yeah.
And so speaking to that, just like your online presence beyond just your two facilities in Valencia and Manhattan Beach, how have you guys grown that social base? I mean, is it content? Is it the fact that you've involved people to help refer Afterburn Fitness? What's kind of been your strategy there?
It's all of the above. My biggest feel on just social media and all of that stuff in general. And, we do our best, and don't get me wrong, we could still do 100 times better, right? Like anything, we're always trying to get better. But I believe that in this day and age, anybody, any company, I actually just did a talk about this thing exactly.
Cool.
That I think you should be a media company. Whatever, like, it doesn't matter who you are or what you are, like in terms of what industry you're in. Because at the end of the day, social media is not going anywhere, right? I mean, you and I both know that. It is going to be in our lives for a very, very long time.
It's only going to grow. I mean, what you see now is like the Facebook, the YouTube, the Twitter, Instagram. It's going to be, I mean, there's a multiplicity of different platforms that exist. And there, some of these maybe won't exist in 20 years.
Exactly.
So evolve,
But it's going to evolve, and it's going to continue to grow. And I think the most underlying, piece of all of it is that all of us go to it, right? Whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to be entertained in some form or another, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether it's something, funny, or there's something of value that we can learn from it, or, someone goes to Pinterest because they want to find ideas about what to do for their home. But at the end of the day, like we're trying to get some kind of value or entertainment out of those apps. And so knowing that, creating content that does exactly that we're creating content that is, either entertaining or providing value to our base to draw people in, so they have a good reason. Because if we're not just going to sell someone 24/7, because that's not what people go on social media for. And so by creating content, like especially videos, that do that, I think GoPro, Red Bull are some of the best at it, right? Like GoPro sells cameras, right? But that's not what they're selling. I mean, what all they are is there's a picture of the camera that has a price under it, and in a 60-second commercial or 30-second commercial, and the 28 seconds before that last clip is this cool ass video of some guy surfing or skydiving or whatever, right? They're a media company. Red Bull does the same thing. Guys are jumping out of the
totally. I mean, on Apple TV, I mean, they have their own platform for content, whether they're, Red Bull, whether they're using GoPro, video camera, any kind of filmmaker, content creator, they're tapping into that drive for high-end sports and experience.
Right.
And it gives people that experience. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I totally agree. It's going nowhere. Do you think you guys would scale or get to that point of a higher amount of content to build a community beyond your facilities?
For sure. Yeah. I would absolutely love to. That's obviously definitely a goal and something that we definitely have our eyes set on, for sure. I think to be honest, I don't think that if you really have any sort of big growth plans with, the social media game as it is, that you can't not have that on your agenda.
Completely agree. Well, and it's interesting too, because with the evolution of what social media may look like, that will change, but I guess the content styles won't necessarily change. And what I mean by that is, like with me and content supply, like the concept I'm trying to focus on is content. Really, all content falls into 4 different types of content types. There's video, there's audio, there's image or still, and then there's like copy or written. And like there's that kind of branches off into so many different forms. You got the VR, like the virtual reality. You've got the live experience that I know your business partner Adam likes to do a lot of.
He loves that live.
He does. Well, and he's got like random moments with Adam. His YouTube channel, I've seen stuff. Crazy guy.
Oh yeah, good dude.
But but it all kind of trickles back into content, which kind of stays as that constant for businesses, no matter how the platforms may evolve. And so I think putting something in place and realizing that, yes, content has its place, and that, like you said, every company has to be a media content company to really survive.
Yeah.
Especially now, or if you want to grow. Maybe there's that mom pop shop that just wants to keep at a local, like very minimal level, and that works for them, then sure. But you can already tell, with the presence you guys have online, apart from your influence at your 2 facilities in California, is there's so much for more and more growth. Because you got started how long ago? It's been 5 years?
6. 2011 we opened Valencia in 2011, and we opened up Manhattan Beach in the very, very end of 2015. And then I actually got done looking at a piece of property yesterday, and have been looking for probably the last month or 2 in Westlake for our 3rd location. So,
oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, they're growing right there. So you mentioned too, so as far as content with this growth, obviously as you add a 3rd location, what ways are you guys going to start using content more? You mentioned you're going to start a podcast or some kind of weekly show.
Yep.
What else do you have in mind?
Well, we just put a guy. Do you know who Jeremy is?
I met Jeremy. Yeah. He's doing your guys' media, right?
Yeah, he's our media director. And so we're starting to just work heavier into like just creating more videos, again, both from a value standpoint, but also like, we have, some funny stuff, some entertaining type videos. You just did a funny thing, like a spoof on a bunch of these different like movies.
Yeah.
We did one, like it was for our trainers, and they all kind of got together and teamed up. One team did, God, what is it? What's the Keanu Reeves movie with?
Oh, Point Break?
Break.
Yeah.
Point Break scene. And then they did a scene from Wedding Crashers, and just, so, that kind of stuff too, that just kind of gets people to engage.
Yeah.
But right now we're really just starting with that, and really trying to just build our YouTube page. And and I actually wouldn't mind getting your opinion on it. Personally, obviously I don't see Facebook anywhere. Instagram's not going anywhere. YouTube's not going anywhere. What's your thoughts on Twitter, which that's something we don't really use a whole, I won't even say we don't use a whole lot of, we don't really use it all. And then Snapchat, which came out, was on fire. It's a big game. And then like, I wonder now if that is something that's going to kind of fall the wayside, especially with Instagram stories and that kind of thing. What are your thoughts on those 2?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So Twitter, let's start with Twitter. My thoughts on that is that it still has its audience for sure, but they're not in my opinion, they're not innovating enough like these other platforms like you just named it, and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, to stay as relevant. Kind of like how we saw Vine, which was thriving and then just kind of died.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that'll happen to Twitter. I mean, like I said, Twitter still have its place, but I think it goes back to the question of, where does your audience as a brand exist? You guys find most of your audience on Facebook, YouTube. I mean, plenty of them are there. And then as you guys grow that, you'll tap into that, and then Instagram. But Facebook is that primary source of, content. And the same thing with Snapchat is, we see most of the younger generation, the teenagers right now, using Snapchat. And so the question is, like, how will that platform evolve to adapt to, marketing to that audience? Because their demographics not quite in maybe your demographic as,
Right.
A gym and a fitness company. But it's hard to say for Snapchat more so than Twitter for me, because you have most of the young pre-20-year-olds who are on Snapchat and Instagram only, and who are not on Facebook.
Right.
And who are on YouTube, but more so on Snapchat and Instagram. So it's kind of like keeping up with the evolution of your community and your audience and what platforms they have preference for. And then you just have to adapt your media and your content to that. So that's kind of my opinion there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see them going away anytime soon, but definitely with like Instagram, for example, and Facebook, they've both integrated new features that are very Snapchat-like. And so it's like, is Snapchat going to be like, what are they going to do to change the game to become more relevant?
Right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But like, for sure, like, I mean, on your website, you have a Snapchat and Twitter handle. But as you said, you don't really put much focus on Twitter or Snapchat. And so, I mean, I still think like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, those are the main competitors for most audiences right now.
Yeah.
Where do you see everything going? So you're adding a third place, you're adding all these shows. Like, what is, in 10 years from now, what's Afterburn Fitness going to be like?
I have 3, 5, 7, 10-year game plans. If all goes according to plan, we'll have, in 10 years from now, we'll have 30 plus locations, and we'll be completely all over the West Coast and specified locations in the, on the East Coast. But to be honest, I want Afterburn to be a nationally recognized brand. When I first started, when we first opened up this one in 2011, it was, I believe, I think 10,000 square feet, and we expanded a couple times. We took it from 10 to, I believe, I think we went 10 to 12 to 15 to now 26 or so. But at the beginning, when it was just 10, not only was I not 100% focused and concerned about, the next 20 locations, but I wasn't sure about like how big I wanted to get, like who I wanted to compete with necessarily. And at least initially competing with more of like the boutique type facilities and studios and things like that. And, we're at a point now where, with the size of the clubs we're at, we kind of compete with everyone. Fortunately and unfortunately, I guess, if what I mean? Like, we compete with the big boys, the LA Fitnesses and the Golds and the Equinoxes and all of those, because of the scale that we operate at. But we also compete with, the boutique stuff, the CrossFits, the Orange Theories, and all of those as well. But 10 years from now, I want to be that club that is known alongside, again, all of those. So like when you're naming them, when you're naming off LA Fitness and Equinox and Bay Club and all of those, that Afterburn is in that list as well.
For sure. Franchise.
No, you know what? So ironically, it's ironic you bring that up. So that was one of the main, forks in the road that we came to, and decided not to go the franchise route.
Okay.
Simply because for what we do, I don't believe that it's a cut and paste business model. I don't believe we can cut and paste like a Gold's or a 24-hour or a Planet Fitness or all of those, which is very, the business model is very straightforward, and you know what I mean? All the other very minute details that we do really needs to be constantly governed properly. And the only way to do that is to keep everything under that one corporate umbrella and entity. And so, we decided to take the route of, we'll grow a little slower. We're not going to be able to franchise and sell 12 tomorrow and open up 12 new locations.
Right.
We'll do one here and then 2 there and then 3 next year. You know what I mean?
It gives you oversight and ownership to the operations, the community. And so it's all kind of that one, it's not the McDonald's franchise.
Exactly.
You have the ownership. So one other kind of final thought I wanted to pick your brain on is you see a lot of online fitness communities and brands being built online, basically specifically online. People are building their private Facebook groups, their sales funnels to get people to join this paid program. Have any of those online paid communities or fitness programs ever been a consideration for Afterburn Fitness?
Like paid online, like training type stuff, or
right. So let's say it's like an online training course to be like, learn how to get a 6-pack. I'm random.
Yeah.
A 6-pack ab in 6 weeks for the summer, and here's a 20 video exercise workout routine that costs $50, $150 to get into, and there's this online sales funnel. I mean, that's such a popular model of many brands nowadays, and it's working for a lot who are figuring out the formula. Was that ever a consideration though of focusing on online versus in-person community building?
No, I mean, we tried a couple things to generate some more online presence in terms of actually turning it into profit and like a business model. But to be quite honest, the couple of times that we've done it, and we really just did it from a standpoint of, we have our challenges that we run a couple times a year, 60 days. And, we try to do like an online version where we did that, where they could sign up. They would have online guidance and videos and that kind of a thing. And it did okay. But to be quite honest, we really haven't put, since then, we haven't really put in a ton of effort into that so that we could focus on the more, ground floor stuff. It may be something once we can get, this next one up and running, we can get that next step of the ground floor stuff going, that we could then focus on it. But at least up until now, haven't put a whole lot of focus on it.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I was just curious because obviously it's a popular model right now.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone in that sense, but yet I'm sure there's great potential. But anyways, so where can people find you online?
The 2 best places are definitely going to be Facebook. So just Afterburn Fitness on Facebook, or just www.afterburnfitness.com on the web.
Perfect. Solid.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Take care, man. We'll talk soon. Thanks for joining us today. Definitely make sure to check out Tony and Afterburn Fitness. They're a brand to definitely keep your eyes on, especially as they continue to grow and provide value to their community. And they have some pretty cool plans in the works, particularly when it comes to more and more content. But that was seriously great. I've been inspired for my own business, especially with how Tony cares about his community and always tries to give back, from doing charity events to different programs, all to help people to change their lives with team activities and fitness. So we mentioned content and brand building throughout this episode. So if you're overwhelmed with running your business and you need more content, especially an ongoing constant supply of content that's custom, all in order to take your brand to the next level, then make sure to learn more and check out our website of Content Supply at contentsupply.io. So thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.